Food bloggers, hi, how are you today? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Eat Blog Talk podcast. This is the place for food bloggers to get information and inspiration to accelerate your blog's growth and ultimately help you to achieve your freedom, whether that's financial, personal, or professional. I'm Megan Porta. I have been a food blogger for 13 years, so I understand how isolating food blogging can be. I'm on a mission to motivate, inspire, and most importantly, let each and every food blogger, including you, know that you are heard and supported. Here's a topic for you that has not been discussed on Eat Blog Talk, I don't think ever. Hiring interns to help you in your business. Katie Jasiewicz from Katie's Cucina joins me in this episode, and she is the queen of hiring interns. She knows all the ins and outs, all the tips, all the things that we should think through if we want to do the same. Everything from where to find the interns, what to put in your job descriptions, what tasks to hire out, how to talk to the interns, what to put in contracts, what things to communicate with them up front so that it is a smooth working relationship, and so many other valuable things. I promise you are going to find value in this, particularly if you love teaching and you love building relationships and you just want some free help in your business. This is going to be a super valuable episode for you. It is episode number 555, sponsored by RankIQ. Eat Blog Talk is thrilled to unveil the Eat Blog Talk Accountability Group, an exclusive community made for food bloggers who crave accountability, focus, and connection. We understand that not everyone is ready to dive into the Mini Minds group or the Masterminds program. That is why we've crafted this special offering for bloggers like you who want that extra push toward their aspirations but aren't yet able to make the financial or time commitment. Here's what the Eat Blog Talk Accountability Group has in store for you for this low introductory price of $34 a month. This ongoing membership has its own private Slack channel. You will gain access to a dedicated channel facilitated by the community manager at Eat Blog Talk, Taryn Soley, for questions, insights, and collaboration. You will get weekly accountability check-ins so you can stay focused and motivated with those weekly check-ins in Slack to track and achieve your goals competently. You will have access to productivity focus sessions. Join these optional live Zoom sessions twice a week to boost your productivity by working alongside your peers and tapping into that collective energy. And you will get monthly group Zoom calls replacing the former Clubhouse chats. Join these calls to connect, discuss current topics, share experiences, and celebrate achievements. Those calls will be hosted by me, Megan Porta, and I can't wait to see some of you there. If this sounds intriguing, head over to eatblogtalk.com/focus to sign up today. eatblogtalk.com/focus. Katie Jasiewicz is a seasoned blogger with almost 15 years of experience. She is known for her popular websites, Katie's Cucina, a recipe blog, and So Woodsy, a craft DIY blog. In 2014, she transitioned from a corporate marketing job and turned her passion for food and crafting into a full-time career. She recently launched Easy Seafood Recipes, a niche seafood recipe website. Katie continues to share her expertise and insights from her journey, spanning over a decade in the blogging world. Hello, Katie. Good to talk to you again on the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Megan. Thank you so much for having me.
Super excited to chat about interns. I love this topic. I think it's something that we don't toss around or consider often enough. So excited to learn from you. But before we do that, do you have another fun fact to share?
Yes, I do. So I won an all-expense paid trip to California from our local radio station back in 2006.
Oh, gosh.
I know.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like one of those things where you're like, I never win these, but then you win.
Exactly. I did not even call into the radio station. It was like an online contest, and I just happened to fill out a form, and I would fill them out all the time, randomly, just hoping that I might actually win something. And my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, was like, stop wasting your time. You're never going to win anything. And then I won us a 3-day weekend to California. So it's pretty awesome.
So that's just proof that you should keep doing those things. It takes such little time and you never know, right?
Yeah, because I guess they really are full.
Yeah, that's so awesome. How cool. My son, my oldest son, is always entering me into these random drawings and contests. It's just like one of his things. He's like, Mom, you could win $500. Mom, you could win a Target gift card. Mom, like, cool. We haven't won yet, but I really appreciate that he does that. So I'm going to tell him to keep at it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because one day you might just get that random phone call and be like, is this for real? Like, did I really win something?
It's bound to happen eventually, it sounds like.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Katie,
Cool.
let's frame our conversation a little bit by telling us a little bit about your blog. Your main blog is Katie's Cucina, or do you say Cucina? Cucina.
You can say it either way. I know that some people are like, oh, but the Italian way is cucina and the American way is cucina, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I will take either pronunciation. It's fine. Yeah, so I started Katie's Cucina back in 2009. It was a hobby. I had friends and family always asking me for recipes, and I finally decided to start a blog. And after about a year, I realized that like people from all around the world were looking at this blog. And I started kind of taking it a little more seriously. I was still working in corporate marketing at the time. So it was definitely a side hustle for me. And then once, probably the year before my son was born, I decided to like, look, like I can probably really make like a salary out of this and I can leave my corporate job. And that's exactly what I did in 2014. And it's been 10 years. It'll be 10 years next month that I left my corporate marketing job and have done this as like a full-time and then a little bit as a part-time and now back to full-time. So it's been such a blessing to get to have a career where I have the flexibility. I'm my own boss. I can still be super active in my kids' lives during the day or when they're sick or whenever. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. And then of course I have So Woodsy. It's a DIY craft website that started in 2010 and it's still going. And I recently launched easyseafoodrecipes.com. I haven't produced as much content as I was hoping to because obviously having 3 websites, I mean, just having 2 is a lot. And 3, I don't know what I was thinking, but one day maybe I will have more recipes to add on there.
That's funny. Yeah, 2 is overwhelming. I started one last summer and I'm like, what was I thinking? This is a lot of work. So 3, I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't touched the Easy Seafood recipe in months, if I'm going to be honest. So,
yeah,
but eventually I will get there. So it's there,
right.
And I have the domain, so that's what counts.
Yes, absolutely. So you do have a huge, long history of blogging. I love that you started in 2009. So you are definitely an OG. You know what you're doing. And over the years, you've likely needed a lot of help, right? Because you can't go that long doing this whole thing alone.
Of course.
So how did you get into hiring interns or even thinking about that as an option?
Yeah, so I've always loved to teach people, like even at a young age, I love to play teacher. And ironically, I never became a teacher, but the desire to want to like give back and teach came to me probably in about, I think it was about 2019, 2020, when I had the idea that maybe I should hire an intern for my blogs. And so as each semester passed, I kept thinking about how I just wanted a little extra help for free. And over that time, I slowly started working on a job description so that one day when I finally decided to hire an intern, I would be prepared. And then in fall of 2021 is when I finally was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to get serious about this. I reached out to my alma mater, Rollins College, to see how I could go about recruiting an intern for my business. And they informed me, like for their school and their process, that I needed to register with a website called Handshake. And during that time, I also realized that I needed to reset up my vanity email address. So, like the Katie at katiescucina.com. I once had it with my old host and I just forgot to get it reset up with Big Scoot. So a quick email to them and I was set up and I did all my paperwork through Handshake and I was ready to go. Now, I will note, Megan, that 2 things that you do need in order to do this. You need to have a business that's registered with your state They will want your business EIN number to ensure that you're a legitimate business. You'll also, some of the schools require a physical address, even though my position that I have for my interns is a virtual position. Other schools do not want you to list a physical address. So it's kind of the fine balance between the two. You just have to weigh like, okay, what schools do I want to pick from? Because then you have to you're either going to list your address or you're not going to list your address.
Okay. Can I ask you a quick question about which schools to look at? So are you talking just colleges and then in your area, like where you live, or how do you go about that?
Yeah. So my thought process. So I live in Orlando, Florida. So we have a lot of colleges around us. We have a lot of colleges and universities all around the state of Florida. I kind of wanted to stay local to Florida, really to Central Florida. So the first semester, I would really only looked at Rollins College, where I went to school, and I looked at the University of Central Florida. On Handshake, it allows you can apply to like all these colleges around the United States. I just applied to be seen by those two colleges. The following semester, I think I also applied for University of South Florida, University of West Florida, and like a couple other schools. So you have the option. My whole thought process was, this is a virtual internship. Okay, so we'll never probably meet in person. But when I first started it, I really thought, oh, maybe we can meet at like a coffee shop or the library once or twice during the semester, or a media event if like I get invited to a media event. So I kind of wanted them to be local. I've had 9 interns now, and I think I've only met 3 in person. So, I mean, you really don't have to have them local. It's just what my thought process was.
Okay. So you really could go to any college. I mean, if you are okay with doing the virtual thing. Okay.
For sure. For sure.
So once you find the college and you do, is Handshake like a common thing that all colleges use, by the way?
I guess from what I understand, I mean, I haven't been in college for a long time. So
yeah, I was like, I don't know what that is, but
yeah. But and I like didn't know either, Megan, until I reached out to Rollins. But what you can do, so there are a couple different places. You can list your internship on LinkedIn, which I will say I did this once and I had over 150 applicants.
Oh my gosh.
And since I give my interns passwords to get into some of the programs, I haven't hired anyone from LinkedIn because I just don't fully trust all the randoms on the internet. And at least their Handshake, I know that they're true college students. Like they can only be on Handshake if they're in college. So that's kind of where I have left it. I've done Handshake, and I've also went through one of the offices at the University of Central Florida, like the PR advertising office. I've had quite a few interns come from their program, so I can list directly over with them. So it just depends on the school. You really have to do your research and due diligence to see what each school requires. Now, UCF is a very, very large university. So I have a much larger pool of applicants than, say, from Rollins College, which is a small private college. So it's all going to depend on like what schools you want to target and how many applicants you could potentially get. I mean, I probably the most I've ever gotten for a semester as far as applicants that came in was about 12. And then I have to interview all 12 of them and go through that whole process. So it can definitely be tedious.
So I imagine you put a job listing of sorts together, correct? And what do you include in that?
Yeah. So that's a great question because this is exactly what I write in my brief. So I say, during this internship, you will be guided and taught directly from the owner and author herself. You will learn the basics in digital marketing, SEO, keyword research, scheduling, social media, email marketing, along with other tasks to run and maintain a successful website and business. So typically they'll have the little background section, and then they'll also talk about the task. And I always write, some of the tasks may include, because I never want to stronghold and say, this is all that you're going to do.
Yeah.
I definitely learn more about my interns as the weeks go on, and I try to lean in on their strengths. And of course, I will help them build on their weaknesses too, but I really lean hard on the strengths. So for my internship, here are some of the tasks that I will put on there. I'll put copywriting. I will have them rewrite old blog posts for me. I'll also have them update and or create new recipe or create cards, depending on what I have tasked them within the internship. SEO keyword research. This is something that we kind of work on together. I personally love to keyword research and can spend hours doing it. So I will spend a few meetings during the semester showing them how I keyword research. I will also do this when we're training to rewrite an old post, because I want them to understand as best as possible what SEO means. And I also give them a very long list of podcasts and webinars that they can listen to on their own. Now, do they ever listen? Most likely not. But those who are interested will listen to some of the podcasts, and then you can kind of tell who has listened to at least one or two podcasts, because then you can see that it kind of all makes sense and that I'm not talking a foreign language and they're not glazed over during our calls. So the SEO part is really more of I'm teaching them, they're not doing it as much. Then I also have them, I will put under the task creating and scheduling content for Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. I provide them with a spreadsheet to schedule out the content. And I also have them make the fresh pins via Canva. And then once they're approved from me, then I'll have them schedule those out too. I have them work on email marketing. So they work on my weekly newsletters. And I also have them work on a final project, which I'll talk about more of that later. I have had interns help me with photo editing and video editing, and then also ADA website compliance, aka alt tag description writing, because I'm an OG blogger and I have thousands of images that still can use some alt tags. So every semester I task my interns with the daunting task of just writing alt tags.
Yeah. I mean, it has to get done, right?
That's right. Exactly. That's what I always explain to them. Listen, when you're in the corporate world or wherever you're going to work, you are going to have tasks that you love and tasks that you're meh, this isn't great. And this is probably one of those tasks. I mean, it's a mindless task, but it has to get done. So, and
Yep.
I feel like I bring a lot to the interns too, because I have worked in corporate marketing. So I can tell them listen, in a small setting like me, it's just me and you going back and forth with edits and stuff. But if you were in a large corporate setting, you would take the copy to the copywriter and they would edit it. And then the graphic designer would do this and this person would do that. So I feel like I try to give them both worlds. This is what it would be like on the larger scale, and this is what it's like on the smaller scale.
Yeah. And I feel like the way you've framed it, you do a really good job of kind of proposing, I'm teaching you. You are going to learn from me. I mean, obviously they are doing work for you and getting some work done, but you are also giving them really valuable insights into the world of blogging and just running a business.
Yes, for sure. For sure. And that's, that's where you also have to decide, are you going to pay these interns or are you going to offer it just for credit? And in my case, I have only ever done these internships for credit only. Now, I have had a handful of interns who did it just for the experience. And those interns have only worked about 6 to 8 hours for me each week during a 12-week semester, where the for-credit interns work anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, depending on their internship requirements. So, I mean, it's totally up to you. I haven't tested out the whole paid internship thing yet. I don't know. I feel like I'm teaching them, and that in itself is payment to me, because I'm giving them all my time and energy and knowledge and resources. And because, I am a small business and every penny counts. So,
and they are getting something out of it too. It's not like they're not getting something valuable. They're obviously needing credits and they're learning the ins and outs from the inside of your business. So I think that is super valuable.
Exactly. I had one intern who was interviewing once ask me if I would pay them in food. And I was like, you're not going to be working on recipes, so I'm
That's
not going to be paying you in food. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
No, I have brought a few of my interns to like media invites where like a new restaurant is opening or they're like launching a new menu, because I like for them to see like what a media event looks like, or even like a media dinner. And we will go and have dinner and they'll get to try everything. I will ask them to take photos and videos and kind of compile this stuff, so that way they have the experience. They are getting the true hands-on experience there.
Yeah. Is there a good time to post about the internship as far as like the year of thinking about the year of the college? When do you do that?
Great question. Okay. So obviously it's going to vary depending on what your school schedule looks like. But for the fall semester, you really want to have your internship posted in May or June at the latest, and have your selection by mid-July, because like we're here in Florida, we go back to school mid-August. So most of the interns need to know if they have an internship secured by like beginning of August, so they can get all that information into whatever office they need to get it into. And then for the spring semester, you want to post your internship description like September, October, the latest, and have your intern selected, I would say before the Christmas holiday season, mid-December, because you come back from that break and it's just like you get smacked right in the face with like back into action, back into school and stuff. So you really need to have them selected by mid-December. And then if you want to attempt to have summer interns, I say February, March timeframe, because you'll want to have your decision by April. I mean, this year, my intern ended, my spring internship ended, I think it was like April 19th or April 22nd was like my like intern's last day. So it was like I felt like it was very early this year, because depending on their contracts with the school will depend on, can you keep them the whole 12 weeks or not? My intern had to be done the week before finals. So I had to account for that as well, which is why she finished so early this past spring. So, you're just going to have to look at the school and find out their schedule and kind of post accordingly.
Okay. And then you said it kind of varies how many hours a week you get depending on like,
yes,
the program or whatever.
Yeah. So that's definitely something that I tell the interns when I am interviewing them. I'm like, listen, it is 100% your responsibility to find out how many hours you need to have me fill out forms. I'm not chasing after any of this because I'm not in college. I am your employer. So it is your responsibility. I had one semester, it was really sad. I had an intern who was not with it, and she didn't turn in her forms in time, and she had already signed her contract with me and stuff, and she did not get college credit. She did hang in there to get the experience, but I could tell the minute that she wasn't getting the college credit, she did not take it as seriously. And so I just kind of started giving her less.
Hello there, food blogger friends. I want to take a really quick break from this episode to chat about a few ways Eat Blog Talk can help you to feel connected, as well as to get your hands on relevant, valuable information in 2024. It has been a bit of a tumultuous year so far. Do you agree? But you have come too far to stop now. This time is a minor blip in the journey, so buckle up and let's do this journey together and come out on the other side stronger than ever. Eat Blog Talk now has a Facebook group. Go join the Eat Blog Talk community Facebook group to get in on some great discussions. Once you're inside, you will gain access to a free job postings shared document, whether you're offering a service or looking for a service. There's also the new-ish accountability group that Eat Blog Talk offers. This group is a low investment membership for anyone looking to connect with peers and grow your business. This is for newer bloggers, intermediate bloggers, and experienced bloggers. We offer robust calls and Slack discussions and so much more in this group for the low cost of $34 a month. The Eat Blog Talk Mini Minds and Mastermind groups are still being offered in 2024 and beyond. Mini Minds groups start up again in October, and we will start filling the 2025 Mastermind group in late summer of 24. Join the waitlist for one of these groups, and you will not be disappointed. And last but not least, join us at an in-person retreat. If you are ready to learn, grow, and build relationships in person, join me and a handful of your fellow food bloggers at an upcoming Eat Blog Talk retreat. This is such a great opportunity to convene in an intimate setting so you can learn, collaborate, and connect. These retreats involve mastermind-style peer-to-peer collaborating, and they're incredibly powerful, delicious, so much good food, and fun. For all the offerings mentioned, head to eatblogtalk.com and you will be directed in the appropriate way. We are more than just a podcast. Go explore some of these other offerings as your time and budget allows. Can't wait to see you in some of those other places. Now back to the episode.
Thankfully, I had other interns that semester that kind of picked up her slack, but it is their responsibility to fully communicate everything to you.
Yeah. And your responsibility to communicate that to them, right?
Yes, exactly.
You are in charge. I am not your mom. You have to do this.
That's the biggest thing with doing like a virtual internship like this. I tell them all the time, the biggest takeaway you're probably going to get from this internship is time management, because I'm not sitting next to you. I'm not holding your hand. I am not telling you, hey, you have to get your work done. No, I give you your task and then you are expected to complete them on the timeline that we have established. And we will go over it and check it. You can always text me with questions. I find a lot of times, I have some interns that have worked at 6 o'clock in the morning, others 11 o'clock at night. I mean, it's whatever works with your schedule, I don't care. And when you will have time in your schedule, you also know when you work best. Like me, I'm a night owl. So I know that I'm going to be most productive in the evening. So that's when I like to work. Other people aren't. So I really kind of really try to hit home to these interns. It is up to you. You have to get your hours in, you have to get your work done. If you're not going to get either of those in, you need to communicate it to me. I'm very understanding if you communicate it to me. If you don't communicate it to me, then I'm not going to be understanding. So, yeah. You just have to lay down the laws from the beginning. So that way they fully understand.
Be the boss. You have to be the boss.
Exactly.
And then how many interns do you have working for you at any given time?
Yeah. So my first semester that I took on interns, it was spring of 2022. And I took on 2 interns. That was the semester I had 12 applicants. And so I was already overwhelmed to begin with. I felt like I should not have taken 2 on for my first semester. It was too many, because think about it. Each intern has about 8 to 10 hours worth of work times 2. So that's all that work that you have to check, that you have to go through, plus your own work. It's a lot. So I would definitely suggest just start with 1, even if you feel like someone might be oh wow, they would also be a great fit. Maybe just hold on to their information and just say, hey, I don't have any positions for this semester, but maybe next semester, if you're interested, I can hold on to your information, reach back out to me. I have taken 3 interns on during summer. I do not recommend that. I do not recommend, especially if you have kids at home or you like to travel a lot or both. I do not recommend interns in the summer at all. I thought it was going to be a great idea. And then I had 30 hours worth of intern work to check, plus my own work, plus kids, plus travel. It was a lot.
Yeah, that does not sound fun.
Exactly. This past year, so my fall semester, I only had 1 intern, and she actually was recommended by one of my previous interns. and I interviewed her and she was great and I took her on. And then she recommended my spring intern. I didn't think I was going to take a spring intern on this past spring, and she ended up being really good too. So I've had now 2 semesters, which is 1 intern, and that is where I would like to stay. I think I only want to take on 1 intern from here on out because it's just the right mix of I can hand them off enough work, but then I have enough time to be able to check all their work and devote time to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think 1 to start probably, right? If you've never done this before, do you recommend doing okay, yeah.
Do not be anxious like me and wanting 2 interns. Just don't do it. It's just not a good idea.
And then do you kind of lean into what their strengths are, like get to know them a little bit and see like, oh, she'd be great at graphic design, so steer them that way?
Absolutely. Okay, so that is a perfect question because 1 semester I had an intern who had an emerging photography business and she loved to edit photos. So I let her edit all of my photos that semester. She did such a great job that I actually ended up hiring her for a few freelance projects after the internship while she was working on getting her business off the ground. And it was a win-win for both of us. She made money and I saved time on photo editing, which I hate photo editing. So it was a huge win for me. And then I also actually that same semester, I had an intern who was doing it merely just for experience. He was very, very motivated and very driven. I was super impressed by him because I think he was like 20, if that. And he wanted to build out a WordPress website. So I had him create my kmjcreative.com website, which is what my business falls under. So my business is KMJ Creative Marketing LLC. And then I have DBAs under that for Katie's Cucina and So Woodsy. And so I had him work on that website. And it's basically like a portfolio website for me. And then also for like the various schools for the internships and stuff, they can look at my website and it's not just like my food blog. And then that same semester, one of the other interns liked graphic design. So I had her create the logo for KMJ Creative. It just all worked out perfectly. So I highly recommend that finding out what your intern likes to do and what they're strong at, and then definitely leaning in on them.
Do you ever get interns that are just like, they don't show up, they're just completely irresponsible, they do things wrong?
Yeah, so I haven't for the most part. I've had, I would say 2 interns in the beginning that interviewed great and seemed promising. And then once they were there, they were definitely on the flakier side. And I really had to like handhold them and constantly text them like, hey, this was due and I have not seen it. Like, are you going to work on this? Do we need to extend the due date on it? And I feel like because I have had 2, I now know kind of what the telltale signs are, or the telltale signs are of, okay, this person might actually just be feeding me BS in this interview, so I might not want to take them on.
So you're a good BS reader now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've gotten to that point at this point. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for us for that? Like things to look out for, red flags in an interview?
I don't know. That's a difficult one. And I feel like it just all comes over time of interviewing. I mean, I have had interns that seemed super, super eager during the interview. And I was like, they're too good to be true. And then they end up being amazing. So it's really, I think, a gut instinct. You just have to kind of have to try to read the room and see if like, hopefully you're going to make the right choice. But I really don't have any tips other than it's follow your gut. That's really the best thing to do.
And then you mentioned earlier about like a final project. Talk more about that. What do you do with that?
Okay, so I give each of my interns a final project. I had this idea when like I was dreaming up this whole like idea of having an intern many years ago. And they start working on this during their 2nd month of the internship. And they put together an ebook and it goes along with a 5 email sequence nurture campaign. And this gives them experience in creating an ebook and also working on an email nurture campaign. I have an ebook template in Canva that they use, and we work together to select a topic. Now, in the beginning, I was like, nice. And I was like, oh, you can select your own topic. And I had the ebooks aren't awful, but the topics are kind of like, okay, this could have been better developed topic. And they aren't creating any new recipes or anything. They're literally taking from my own recipes and just putting them into an ebook. So I've had like a smoothie ebook. I think my intern for spring, she did an Italian recipe ebook because I have a lot of Italian recipes. 2 springs ago, I had an intern do like a Mexican recipes ebook because I get a lot of traffic during Cinco de Mayo. So I was like, perfect. We'll like work on a nurture series campaign during that and the ebook. And then once they're done with all this, they can put that in their portfolio, and I will send out the ebook to my current email subscribers. And then it will also sit up there as my freebie. Now, my ultimate plan for this, and I've been saying this for years, so maybe 2024 will be the year, is I plan to update these ebooks and add additional recipes and more value and then start selling them. Because after a couple months, I am not using these ebooks or the nurture campaigns anymore. So they're just sitting there, and I feel like I could be doing more and getting some passive income from it. So that's my ultimate plan with these ebooks and final project.
Yeah, that's smart. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, which is kind of the whole point of all of this. Like, you're helping them, they're helping you.
For sure.
So use it to grow your business.
For sure.
Anything else we're leaving out that we need to know about hiring interns?
Yeah. So one thing is, so I kind of mentioned it earlier, is that I will give them some of my passwords because there's just some things like, obviously for WordPress, I like give them their own username and password, but there's certain platforms that I cannot give them their own unique username and password. For instance, email. I'm on Flowdesk and I have yet to be able to figure out, and I don't think that they have the option to give like an additional username and password to get into the same email account. So I have put together a contract for them to sign at the beginning of the semester. And they sign basically, as my husband laughs, their life away because I want to make sure that I'm not going to get sued for anything. And it talks about how like they are getting passwords and they're getting information that is not to be shared with anyone. And if they are to share it, there could be legal consequences. And, and I like also remind them like, listen, like these are, like if you're working on a public computer, like I would appreciate you not to work on a public computer. I would appreciate that like you don't share these passwords or the usernames with anyone. I also make sure, because this is a virtual internship, right from the beginning inside the interview process, I don't know if I said this, but I make it clear that they have to have their own internet. They provide their own internet and they have to provide their own laptop. I am not providing any of that for them. So that's another thing too. So like having a contract and then making sure that they're well aware that they're not going to be given like a laptop or internet or any of those extra things. Like they have to provide all that.
Yeah, that's something that you don't necessarily think about communicating. I don't think, if you haven't done this before, I would not think about that. I would just assume that they were on the same page. So,
yeah. I mean, and it's really just all about covering your bases and really just learning as you go, because it's all a learning process. And I tell that to my interns every semester. I've had interns for 6 semesters now, I think, close to, and five or 6 semesters. And I like tell them at the beginning of each semester, this is a learning process for both of us. So, so just bear with me,
Yeah.
So, and overall, I think they're really good about being flexible. I mean, I lay it out in the beginning. I have a family and kids, and sometimes I have to be up at their school and I cannot you know, text you back right away. You're just going to have to be patient. And that's really important too, because, and the same goes with me. I am not expecting them to answer a text message in the middle of the day because they're probably in class.
Right.
And that's, you also have to be mindful of their schedule as well.
Yeah. How much time would you say you spend each week either preparing things for your interns or communicating with them?
Well, I don't know. I think it depends. Obviously, in the beginning of the semester, we meet twice a week. We do 2 1-hour calls. At first, I did once a week, 2 3-hour call, and they were so glazed over and exhausted. And plus, I was tired of talking. So I have broken it up to 2 1-hour calls the first 2 to 3 weeks to get them up to speed, to teach them how to use various platforms. I typically like to get them started on scheduling out Facebook posts. And I'll have them also work on writing a newsletter that's really simple. You're just adding in links and pictures and writing a little intro paragraph that I will review before it gets to get scheduled out and pushed to my newsletter. So I think, I don't know, Megan, probably anywhere from 2 to 4 hours for preparing and going through stuff. Now, if they have rewritten blog posts and stuff, it could take longer. It really just depends.
Yeah.
And I think, something else I didn't mention is that I use Trello for project management. So we both have access to a Trello board, and I put all of their tasks in there, and they're pretty repetitive week after week. They know okay, I'm going to have a newsletter that I have to write this week. And what I typically do is I have them writing newsletters almost a month out, or at least a couple weeks out. So I have that buffer. If they get sick, if I get sick, I still have content that's getting pushed out. We're just, working a little bit ahead of time. So, I mean, my intern for spring, she had all of my newsletters written up until the end of May, which was kind of amazing.
Ooh,
so,
awesome.
So I use Trello for project management, and I can write inside the cards. It's really easy to use. I also use Toggle, which is, and I think I learned it from you, Megan.
I love Toggle.
Podcast. Yes, it was definitely from you. It's a great time management tool, but I can also see what they've been working on and how long they've been working on it. I've never had a school come to me and say, hey, can you provide a time card? But if they ever did, all I have to do is run the report from Toggle, and I can share here were all their hours. Now, I do sometimes have to get on interns because I'm listen, you have to label this because I don't know what you spent 2.5 hours on. And I personally need to know how long a task is taking for you so that I give you the appropriate amount of work for the following week. Now, if a newsletter is taking you an hour, we're probably having an issue there because it should not be taking you an hour. So I use Toggle. And it's free, and I love it. I mean, I use it for my own personal self to time track, but then also for my interns too.
Yes. I imagine you have to have a love for teaching doing this, right?
Yes, you do. You do. And you also have to have, I guess, the patience in knowing that it's not going to be 100%. You have to be able to let go. The semester that I had my intern who was editing my photos, it wasn't exactly how I would edit it, but it was good enough that I felt all right, I can publish these photos and I am okay with it. That's a big thing too. You have to be able to kind of let go a little bit when you're working with interns.
For sure, because some of us have that issue, not wanting to give up control, right?
Yes, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I've had Pinterest managers. I've hired out my weekly newsletters and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I was I can probably do it and do it better. And then when I put the interns in on it, I was wow, they're doing just as good as these people who I was paying hundreds of dollars for. And I'm saving the money. I'm giving back, and I'm able to teach people how to do various tasks that they're going to potentially do in their future careers. So I feel like it's a win-win.
All right. Is there anything else we should know if somebody is considering this and it sounds intriguing that we haven't covered yet, Katie?
Just try to plan, like really try to plan out what the whole internship would look like, what kind of task that you want them to work on. Try to plan out the first couple weeks so that way you kind of have a game plan going into it. The more organized you are going into it, the more you're setting yourself up for success and you're setting your intern up for success.
Yes, I so can see that. If you go into it just like not knowing what you're putting together, I can imagine it being an absolute mess. But
listen, my first semester that I had interns, I got COVID like the week before.
Oh, no.
My interns were set to start. So we actually started, I think, like a week late because I was just so sick. And I was like, sorry, I cannot put any energy into this right now. And they both understood. But we went into that first semester so frantic.
Oh.
And I learned so much from it that I was like, you have to plan. You have to have such a solid plan. You really have to be good at planning and time management. And obviously, you also, I mean, you know, plans can go different ways, but
South.
the more that you're prepared, the better that everyone is going to do for the internship.
Yeah, for sure. I love this. Thank you for bringing this to the table. It's not, like I said earlier, not something I hear about often. And I knew that you were amazing at this because you talked about it at one of the eBlog Talk retreats.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
Just blown away by this possibility. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I mean, it is great for anyone who wants to teach, whether you have a large blog or a small blog, you know, whether you want to pay someone to help you or you just want to give your knowledge and do it, you know, via credit. It's just a great way to be able to have an extra set of hands for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Katie. So appreciate all of this value today and talking to you again. I always enjoy talking to you. So thanks for being here.
You know, thanks, Megan, again for having me on.
Yeah. Do you have another quote or words of inspiration to share with us?
Yeah. So effective people are not problem-minded. They're opportunity-minded. They feed opportunities and starve problems. And that comes from Stephen Covey.
Oh, starve problems. I love that. That's so good. Great quote.
I felt like it was perfect for like talking about interns and trying to figure out ways to maximize our time as bloggers and just with the busy world that we live in.
Oh, love that so much. We will put together another show notes page for you, Katie. If you want to go peek at those, head to eblogtalk.com/Katie's Cucina 2, since this is your second interview. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me at katiescucina.com. I'm also on Instagram. It's Katie Jasiewicz, which is my crazy long last name.
I like how you say that apologetically.
I know. I just didn't want to commit to having two Instagram accounts many years ago when Instagram launched. So I just put it as my name and it's kind of stuck like that. And then I'm also on TikTok at Katie's Cucina and Facebook at Katie's Cucina. So I'm everywhere.
Oh, awesome. Go check Katie out, everyone. And thank you again, Katie, for being here. And thank you for listening, food bloggers. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of eBlog Talk. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be so grateful if you posted it to your social media feed and stories. I will see you next time.